we were able to explore the diagnosis of prenatal alcohol exposure earlier than what we would have had we just been stuck watching these delays. So, as the twins came to be with us at 15 months old and they were engaged in first step services, they had what looked like expected delays, maybe a little more severe, but OT, PT, DT, all the therapies, developmental, physical, occupational, were kind of all on board. And in those early months and when the children were young, we were really cautioned about not jumping off any deep ends, because when kids are coming into care, or where they're coming into new caregivers' homes after being in child welfare system, we expect a certain amount of delay just due to trauma. So we were really watching that. What helped us know that there was more was we were able to meet with birth dad, who told us that mom did drink until she found out she was pregnant, and then she stopped, and then maybe had a beer or two along the weekends. So we were able to explore the diagnosis of prenatal alcohol exposure earlier than what we would have had we just been stuck watching these delays and these gaps, because they looked like what you would expect. They did some gap closing with regard to OT and physical therapy, developmental therapy. By the time that they hit 3 and aged out of first steps, they qualified for our school system's preschool program, and they started that. The point I think I'm trying to get to with looking at navigating this system with them is that everything looked as it would expect it to be looked for their situation. Where we started to see the gaps widen was when they got to be 7 and 8 years old, and we're looking at comprehension. We're looking at how short-term memory was really creating a challenge for them. In the home, with regard to disconnect between choices and consequences, which is pretty typical for prenatal alcohol exposure, also can look like reactive attachment disorder when you're asking a 4-year-old to not hit a sibling or to hand you an object, and they're lashing out or they're refusing to comply. Can look the same. And so as they got a little bit older, the gaps began to widen, and they just continued to widen for Jess. Jude was able to close some of the gaps, but the further Jessie's peers progressed, the further apart they grew.